Welcome to the Restricted Area, a show about the NBA. I'm Zach Harper, that's Wazzy Lambre. Every single week on the Athletics YouTube channel, we'll be taking you through the most incredible happenings around the association. Smash that subscribe button, hit that like button, share it with your friends, leave a nice comment, how about that? And subscribe to The Athletic at theathletic.com/restricted area. You get The Athletic for $1 per week. That's right, it's the best sports coverage on the internet for $1 per week. You can't afford not to do it. Waz, last week we went over the 2020 chemistry issues of the Los Angeles Clippers, and it was quite the ride. But the last 7 years of the Philadelphia 76ers might be even more confounding. And as you know, analytics guru Daryl Morey has been brought in to end the process and fix/refix the 76ers.
Hold on, Zach. You can't end the process. Everybody knows the entire point of the process is that it's never ending.
Waz, actually, you're right. You know what? That's my mistake. Because the process is you're bad so you can draft the good players, and then you take the good players and you learn how to win. And we know Daryl Morey has no intention on stopping that winning. Will it work? Who knows? But Waz, I think a little history lesson is necessary here. In fact, it's like Will Smith says in the movie Hitch.
You can't really know where you're going until you know where you've been.
Let's take the people on a flashback, on a trip way down memory lane, back to when it all first began.
May 14th, 2013, Daryl Morey's right-hand man, Sam Hinkie, is hired by the 76ers as the president and the GM.
We talk a lot about process, not outcome, and about trying to consistently take all the best information you can and make consistently good decisions.
He took over a team that finished with 34 wins in the previous season and a franchise that was just 253 and 305 since trading away Allen Iverson in 2006. This was a challenge. It requires time to foster and execute the process. On the day Hinkie was introduced, mentor Daryl Morey said, "Philadelphia will realize over time what an important acquisition they have made." And just 1 month into the Hinkie experience, everybody knew the tank was on.
Everybody asked me, like, man, on Twitter or just walking around or whatever, like, y'all would have been so good if they would have kept Dre, Lou.
When Hinkie traded his best player, Drew Holiday, for draft assets, we all kind of got the sense that something strange was going on.
We'd seen NBA rebuilds before, but the Holiday move hinted at a more radical kind of NBA rebuild, one where draft capital and assets would be pursued at the expense of pretty much everything else. Hinkie's brand of NBA countercultural appeal would eventually lead him to amass a cultish, almost messianic following amongst a certain subset of Sixers fans. One where draft capital and assets would be pursued at the expense of pretty much everything else.
But Zach, as the Sixers fans were falling madly in love with their new Lord and Savior, Sam Hinkie, there was a backlash happening in and around the league amongst people who felt like Hinkie's process was kind of a bastardization of the NBA as a project.
Yeah, but you gotta trust the process, Waz, even if it means drafting 3 centers in 3 consecutive years. Nerlens Noel in 2013, Joel Embiid in 2014, and Jahlil Okafor in 2015. But after Okafor, it kind of felt like he was just accumulating players instead of actually building a team. And in the first 2 years, they went a combined 37 and 127. That's right, 90 games under 500 in 2 years.
Two things sunk Hinkie here, Zach. One, he sort of lost the war of attrition. The point of the process was that you lose all of these games because there was a light at the end of the tunnel, a brighter day ahead, where all these lottery picks would end up yielding you the next LeBron or KD. And number two, the guy picked Jahlil Okafor over Kristaps Porzingis. He's supposed to be a freaking genius and can't even spot a unicorn when it smacks him right in the face in the draft.
Hold on, man. Ja was an NCAA champion. Kristaps is European. I'd say it's a no-brainer. Just 2 years in, the shit really starts to hit the fan. You gotta factor all these things in, okay? They start out 0-18. Their top prospect, Joel Embiid, is out for a second straight season with a broken foot. You have NBA owners lobbying to Adam Silver to intervene. And TV, they're attacking Hinkie's process at every single turn.
He's not gonna hide like a coward when adversity hits the franchise.
So on December 7th, 2015, They hire the Hall of Famer Jerry Colangelo to middle manage the process.
And this was a huge blow for Hinkie at the time. A Keith Pompey article that details the Jerry Colangelo signing starts off with the opening line, quote, "The Sixers got their credibility back," end quote. Ouch.
But are they wrong, Waz? I mean, that man fixed USA basketball. That's an entire country's basketball team. How hard could it be to fix one city's team? Plus, I think my favorite line from that entire article is an anonymous executive who says, "There's a new sheriff in town."
Zach, right now, is there anyone spicier than an anonymous NBA GM? I guess maybe an anonymous NBA agent, but we'll get to that later.
Waz, as soon as Colangelo came aboard, I'm pretty sure that's when Hinkie started writing that resignation letter that we'll get to in a little bit. According to Yahoo, Hinkie was too buried in numbers and pie graphs and PowerPoint presentations. Colangelo constantly lamented the absence of what he termed, quote unquote, real basketball people. Waz, decode this one for me.
It also goes on to say that Hinkie, quote, lacked the necessary people skills to run an NBA organization, which to me sounds like Colangelo's calling Sam Hinkie Steve Urkel. Perhaps he wanted them to have a couple more Stefan Urkels in there, Zach.
There is no Steve here. I'm Stefan, sweet thing.
That's why the wind's low. On April 6th, Sam Hinkie gives a 13-page, 7,000-word resignation letter, and it's leaked to the media. It's citing philosophy, Greek tragedies, flightless birds. He's quoting everybody: Abe Lincoln, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, Bill James, Bill Belichick, and of course, Max Planck. Waz, you know who Max Planck is, right?
Of course I know who Max Planck is. They don't call me the black intellectual for nothing, but notice he ain't have no Al Davis in there. Just win, baby.
Just win, baby.
Or not even a Dom Toretto from Fast and Furious. Winning is winning.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
On April 10th, 2016, the Sixers hired Jerry's son, Bryan, to go against the process, but they kind of rebranded it as The Plan. Created a seismic change in attitude. Bryan Colangelo said, "We're really changing our focus towards winning. That's something that's a shift in culture."
Guys, they finished 10-72 that season. That's like the 96 Bulls, except the opposite. Where else were they gonna go from there? The Big Sky?
When it starts, Bryan Colangelo era seems kind of uneventful off the court, and it's kind of successful on the court. They draft Ben Simmons in 2016, which is a very processy thing to do. Then they check out in the first year Joel Embiid, what he can do on the court a little bit. Then the next year, we kind of see what Ben Simmons can do on the court, and that's the same year we find out what they both can do on the court together, which was 52 wins in a second round appearance.
Yeah, Zach, but with hindsight being 50-50, we can see that 16-game win streak was kind of fluky. They beat up on a bunch of teams that were resting their starters in order to what? Tank.
Yeah, but Waz, again, Dom Toretto.
Winning's winning.
And the crazy thing is that Colangelo kind of comes at the perfect time. The young stars are budding. They're sort of reaching their natural evolution as young players in their second and third year. The process is working, but all of that would eventually be dashed away by some strange Twitter fingers in the Colangelo household.
Oh no, Waz, we kind of find out that Colangelo has been misleading regarding information of a late January 2017 knee injury. One day after we see Embiid was dancing around at a Meek Mill concert. Yeah, it turns out he was dancing around on a torn meniscus. In fact, the media, the local media, starts hammering Colangelo for the same lack of transparency that one Sam Hinkie used to be hammered on. May 29, 2018, The Ringer publishes an in-depth investigation into a slew of Twitter accounts linked to Bryan Colangelo. The accounts had defended his decisions as Sixers president and divulged sensitive information about several Philadelphia players, and also refuted the aforementioned story on Colangelo's recklessness with Embiid's knee injury. "This clown is going to ruin everything Hinkie built," Ray Vega wrote, to which Eric Jr. replied, "Clown. Why? What did Hinkie build? My gosh, the biased insanity.
Zach, wouldn't it be fire if Ray Vega was actually Sam Hinkie's burner?
A little over a week after The Ringer publishes that story, Bryan Colangelo resigns despite denying any wrongdoing.
Well, technically, they claim that the burner came from Mrs. Colangelo, and so technically, Zach, Bryan Colangelo didn't do anything wrong, personally speaking.
Overall, the post-Hinkie years have been an attempt to kill the process. Between Jerry Colangelo, Bryan Colangelo, and eventually Elton Brand under an ownership group that can't pick a single direction, the Sixers started wasting assets Hinkie worked so hard to accumulate. They traded up to get Markelle Fultz by giving up an extra first-round pick, and they sold off all these second-round picks for cash instead of getting guys that, they could develop into players.
They swung big for Jimmy Buckets, then essentially let him go for nothing. They traded a boatload of assets for Tobias Harris, then compounded that terrible mistake by handing him a 5-year, $180 million contract that became one of the worst contracts in the league the second he signed it.
It's okay, the Butler cap space that they got, they used it on Al Horford, who may have given them less than nothing. But they couldn't kill the process. As Waz says, the process is never ending. Daryl Morey comes in and he takes those stars that Sam Hinkie got and he tries to build with them and win games and find the pathway to a championship. That is the process, and that is what Daryl Morey will continue.
Long live Sam Hinkie. Long live the process.
And long live the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, all of their listeners, and the Hinkie files out there. Trust the process, everybody.
Watch your back, Demo.
If you want to read more about the end of the process, long live the process, check out John Hollinger's article on theathletic.com. Go to theathletic.com/restricted area for $1 a week subscription to The Athletic. Waz, the anonymous agents are at it again, and it's centered around Clutch Sports and Rich Paul and LeBron James. So there was a pro day for Anthony Edwards, might be the #1 pick, Tyrese Maxey, might be a lottery pick, both Clutch clients. And they had LeBron James there and Anthony Davis, all the Clutch people. And so it was on ESPN2, great exposure. Mark Berman in the New York Post said that there were some agents that said it was unfair and unwarranted exposure and that the NBA should not have let this go on. Waz, decode this one for me.
The nerve of uppity Rich Paul to sign 2 guys that are gonna go at or near the top of the lottery and go out and get them exposure. How could he, Zach? And then, of course, this comes on the heels of an anonymous agent survey that we did here at The Athletic, where agents hemmed and hawed and complained about LeBron James being an unfair recruitment tool for Clutch Sports. It's just ridiculous. Mind you, Zach, I actually spoke to a league source about this very survey and the anonymous GM who claimed this stuff about LeBron, and I was told that LeBron never recruits on behalf of Clutch Sports.
Ooh, a Waz bomb there. Okay, so then, Waz, what is the pearl clutching? What is the shade and the pettiness towards Rich Paul?
The shade, I can't quite put my finger on the shade. I don't understand the shade. What could the shade be from?
I just don't know what the problem is. That's it for the restricted area this week. Make sure you're checking out theathletic.com/restricted area. Get you a subscription to The Athletic for $1 a week and keep up with the best sports coverage on the internet. We're out.